Howdly doodly there, neighborinos. Hope you're having a flanderific day. Um, Today we are going to talk about, uh, well, a few things. Um, so, first off, I just wanted to, of course, since this did really affect me very badly, actually, I just wanted to say that because of what happened to Charlie Kirk, and of course, because of um, all over the United States, which I think is an incredible testament to his faith. Um, that if if you die and it gets people to go to church, that's pretty incredible. That says a lot about you as a person. And I think he accomplished his mission. Because I mean, yeah, sure he was all about conservatism and political stuff, but that was really his main mission. If you go through and like listen to everything he had to say, spreading the kingdom of God was his primary mission. And yeah, he accomplished that, which is amazing. Um, yeah. So the other thing that, well, the other few things I wanted to talk about is, um, because of that, it's got me thinking. Like we can't. Well, I can't. I don't know about you. I don't know how much of an impact Charlie had on your life. He had a profound impact on mine. Um, but I can't sit back anymore. 'Cause I could always kind of sit back. I can do like this episode of SFC, and that's nice. And we're gonna continue to do SFC and all of that. I'm very happy with what SFC has become, and all of that. I love, uh, reading the Bible with G and Steven and discussing it, and yeah, I love that. It's great. But I could always sit back and appreciate, even if I wasn't watching him, I could always appreciate that Charlie was out there going to the lion's den, right? To these very, very liberal, and talking with people and changing hearts and minds. But I can't do that anymore. He's not here. He's with our Lord and Savior. So that means that, I mean, really, all of us, if he had a profound impact on your life, all of us need to pick up this banner and continue on. So I am making that my mission. I am going to go to UCF, and I am going to kind of do what Charlie did a little bit. with my own spin on it, of course. And it's not anything that you all will see on the channel, because that would just, in my opinion, would be horrible, would be grifty. That whole thing belongs to Charlie, and he should get all the credit for it. But I want to do that. I want to do what he did, not necessarily film it and make money off of it, but just go there and do it, you know? And that is requiring me to educate myself and become a well-read man like Charlie. And the first book that I have started with, and there's a variety of books that I'm going to be reading on a variety of topics, but the most important to me, and I believe the same would be true of Charlie, the most important is getting Christianity right. So this is a big roundabout way to say I've started reading Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. Now, while it is a profound book filled with incredible wisdom and incredible knowledge, not only that, but literally I can hear the echoes of Charlie when I read it, it makes me smile and makes me very happy. I'm not going to be talking about it. I'm not going to be talking about it on the channel yet, because I know that is a book that G and I have been wanting to read on the channel, spoiler alert, for some time now, but I don't want to talk about it right here and right now, because I just don't think that would be fair to G and fair to you, the audience. Because like I said, G and I both want to read this book. So if I go on here and I either read it on stream, which, I mean, I think we'll probably be doing an audiobook, like listening to an audiobook of it, instead of like reading it, just so we don't have to like pay for the book. It's the same thing. I'm getting the same information, you know. You know, it's just I'm not physically reading it. Anyway, I also don't think that would be fair to you, the audience, for me to go through and talk about it right now, and then G and I go and read it at some point in the future, and you basically get a repeat episode, so I'm not going to do that. Incredibly profound book, though. You know how G and I always say that you should, well, I mean, I guess G does agree with it, but I think it was, I don't know, maybe I'm just being a little selfish here. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But I feel like I always say, you know, you need to read the book, the Bible. You need to read the book cover to cover, because you need to know what the Bible says, right? So when you're finished reading the Bible cover to cover, or even while you're reading the Bible cover to cover, and if you just want to like break it up, you know, like you read a book of the Bible, and then like you want to like take a little bit of a break or a breather, I would highly recommend you read Mere Christianity. As a matter of fact, if you find yourself in the atheist camp, if you find yourself maybe not sure what to believe, I almost might recommend that you read that book first and then read the Bible right after. Because it is that profound. There's a lot of wisdom in it. Anyway, moving on from that, because we need to talk more about God and the Bible in this episode, and I have mostly just been talking about Charlie Kirk and Mere Christianity, which is a fine book to talk about, I suppose, but we're not really talking about it. We're talking about me reading the book. So I read the book of Esther today. And that's a very interesting book. It's a very unique book of the Bible. The only book of the Bible that does not directly mention God in it. But you can see his fingerprints throughout the book pretty clearly. So the book was written during the Babylonian exile, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I feel pretty certain that I'm correct about that. Because it talks about how... Oh wait, maybe I'm confusing that with another... But I also started reading another book, and I won't spoil that one for you yet. Though, if you're Protestant, you're probably thinking of one book, and if you're Catholic, you're thinking of the correct book. Spoiler. So anyway, written during the Babylonian exile, and they weren't allowed to mention, like, God. They couldn't have, like, any other God except for... No, actually, this would be right. This would be right, 100%, because it gives context to... Okay. So, Alexander the Great had conquered the known universe, basically. The known world, I guess. I don't know why I said universe. He had conquered the known world, right? And then he died. And one of his generals took over. And it was decreed that you were not allowed to have any other gods except for, like, Greek gods. So they couldn't mention, like, Yahweh, basically. So the story starts out with this king. Maybe it was Artaxerxes. Again, I might be confusing it with the other book, but regardless, he had a wife, and they were having this big feast, right? The king was having his feast with all the men, and the queen was having her feast with all of the women. Well, the king asked the queen to basically come on over to the men's feast, and so that they could all see her beauty. And she said no. She rejected him. So the king was pissed, and the like princes, I guess you could say, of the land, or the governors, or whatever you want to call them, and the king, like, no, then we're gonna have problems with all of these women in the land. So something drastic has to be done. So basically, he divorced her and banished her. So they needed to find a new queen. And all of the young, beautiful women's were sent before this eunuch, which means basically he's a castrated man. Not too dissimilar to Michelle Obama's brother. Sorry. So, stupid joke. Totally threw me off. So all of the women are taken before this eunuch who's like a servant to the king. And this one woman, Esther, had basically, I guess charmed would be the correct word, charmed him. And he liked her the best. So they went through and Esther, basically like beautified herself. She what do they call it? It's like glam or something. Whatever. She dolled herself up. She got all purty. And the king was like, yeah, no, I dig her. I dig her a lot. She's fine. She's one fine piece of ass. I don't know if that's sacrilegious. I don't know. I'm going to assume probably not. But yeah, no, the king was like, that's one fine piece of ass. And she was selected to be the queen. So, well, I guess not spoiler alert, but it turns out that she is Jewish, which the king and the eunuch does not know. Her either cousin or uncle, I don't remember which one it was. I suppose it doesn't matter. The person who was taking care of her because both of her parents were dead, still like a family member, but not like her mom or dad, told her to keep this like secret from the king because she may be able to help her people out. Which again, that right there tells you. I want to say that he was like a big deal in the religious community as well. We're just gonna call him by his name, Mordecai. His name was Mordecai, like from Mordecai and Rigby. That was his name. So Mordecai tells her, that she may be able to help her people out. So she's got to, keep quiet. Which is clearly like, God has put you in this position to do like good here. So Mordecai ends up hearing that these two guards want to like basically, well, assassinate the king. And Mordecai goes and tells Esther that they want to assassinate the king. And she goes and tells the king that Mordecai had told her this. And of course the king is very happy, and he goes and he writes down this information in a book that Mordecai had told him about the treachery of these two guards. So crisis is averted. Everyone is happy. Except for this dude named Haman. And Haman was a total chode. He was the he was like the military general, I guess you could say. I actually don't remember exactly what his position was. He was an important dude, either like a general or like a second in command kind of deal. And everyone bowed to him except for Mordecai. Because, and of course this isn't specifically put in the book because they can't mention anything about God during this time. But he did that because, of course, you only bow to the one true God, not to man, you know. So since he didn't do that, like I said, this Haman was a total chode. So he gets his short man syndrome and decides that he not only wants to kill Mordecai, he wants to kill the rest of the Jews to really teach them a lesson. So he goes and he tells the king that there are these people in the land that will not like fully submit to like the law. And the king is like, okay, yeah, no, sure, I agree. All right, go ahead, you can kill them all. So Mordecai hears about this and tells Esther about it. And he's like, you have a chance to like do some good here, you know, like, again, he doesn't say this, but it's like implied. God put you in this position for this reason, like to save your people. So she goes and so this was apparently like a big deal because I guess you couldn't go before the king unless if the king has like asked for you, and he hadn't asked for her in like a long time. But if you go before the king and if you go before the king and the king is not happy about it, you are put to death. If the king puts out his golden scepter towards you, then you're cool, you're fine. So it was like kind of a crapshoot on whether was, you know, divorced and thrown out for like mildly disrespecting him. This would be a pretty like, you know, serious ordeal here. But she does it anyway. And the king puts out his golden scepter, and she tells him that she's going to throw him a big party, and that him and Haman should come to it. So she goes and she throws this big party, right? And then I want to say she wants to throw him another party afterward, because the first one she doesn't tell him. On the second time, I think it's before the party, he's having like some trouble sleeping, the king. So he asks to look through the book. And then he finds out, hey, wait a minute, this Mordecai guy, who's a Jew, was the one that told me about the assassination plot. And then Esther, the next day at the big party, is like, oh yeah, by the way, this dude wants to murder Mordecai, and like all of the Jews, and like that's not cool. And I think she may have even told him that she was a Jew. I don't remember. So the king ends up using the gallows that Haman had built to hang Mordecai to hang Haman. And then they end up killing like all of his sons, and Mordecai is put in the position that Haman was at, and everyone lived happily ever after. The end. So honestly, this book and the next book that I read, First Maccabees, well, I didn't read through all of it, but I got through part of it. It kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, with like Charlie. It's like doing the right thing despite the fact that you know that it would be dangerous to do so. Because I mean, Charlie knew that people wanted to assassinate him. They knew that if they got the chance, they would kill him. But he did it anyway. He went out anyway. And like, again, that it's a perfect, like, these two books have been a perfect, like, I guess, illustration, of how he just, like, lived them out, like these biblical principles of faith and doing the right thing, even though it may be scary to do so. Because in the book of Maccabees, it talks about how, again, Alexander the Great had taken over. Or, maybe I was right. Maybe I was thinking about First Maccabees, and his general took over. Regardless, I was right. Esther was written during the Babylonian exile. Doesn't really matter. But anyway, there's this guy, and he's got all of these sons. And he's like a priest, right? And the Macedonians, I guess, are telling him that he's got to have all of these Greek gods, and they just can't do any of, like, the Jewish customs or anything. So they end up rebelling. I want to say that they kill a couple of people that were trying to force them to do pagan things, and then they retreat into the mountains, right? And they fight a few, like, guerrilla style battles, and then I think it's just by old age, the main priest ends up dying, and he leaves his son. Nice, I saw Slicks. I think I was the one that gave you the thumbs up on Discord. Leaves his son Judas Maccabee. Yeah, that would make sense because it was the Maccabean. So Judas Maccabee in charge, and they keep fighting all of these, like I said, guerrilla warfare battles, and then they end up taking back the temple of Jerusalem, and then they, like, cleanse it. And that's where the whole tradition of Hanukkah, like, originates from. And I really haven't gotten too much further into the book other than that. But yeah, like I said, I feel like that goes really appropriately. Goes really appropriately with Charlie. Just, doing the right thing despite the fact that you may die for it. And listening to God's calling above all. So I think we're going to finish it up here with a quick Bible verse, which, again, also has to, I mean, I guess not, it can be used this way, but obviously it's not what it was intended for, because, well, I mean, I guess it is about martyrs. I think it is. Well, I know it's about martyrs, actually, so yeah, it can be applied to Charlie. Hebrews 11:4. Do I have this right? Yes, okay. And I really think this has to do well with what I was talking about at the very beginning, where uh, because of Charlie's murder, more people are going to church. Yeah, like I said, I think this really very well uh, yeah, I think this pretty well sums up what we have just seen happen recently with Charlie Kirk. Hebrews 11:4 By faith Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. Alright, and that's gonna conclude it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching, Slicks. Thank you to anyone else who may have tuned in and didn't chat with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the YouTube crowd who's going to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.